Ọba tí kò pé méjì yá ayò yá qayyum kò pé méjì kò pé mẹ́ta yá.
Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us all here this morning for the second edition of the NASFAT Business Breakfast. We had one last year and it was such a wonderful event, loaded by all present and those who later got information about the program. And by Allah's grace, by His mercy, by His magnanimity, we are all gathered here today again to have the second edition. Peace, mercy, and blessings in abundance on the noblest of humankind, the exemplary paragon of virtue, our dearest Prophet Muhammad. Let us say sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and on his household, the totality of his companions, and on every one of us. I say good morning to everyone here present. I would like that we start this program with a opening prayer like we do normally. I would like to invite a member of the National Mission Board of NASFAT, the Zonal Missioner of NASFAT Lagos Zone 3, our dear Imam, Sheikh Abdul Wahab Abdul Ghani, to please lead us in the opening prayer. And
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Walillahil hamdu. Allahu Akbar kabira. Walhamdulillahi kaseera. Wa subhanallahi bukratan wa asila. La ilaha illallah wahdahu anjasa wahdahu wa nasara abdahu wa ansa jundahu wa ansa man yasabada. La ilaha illallah wa la na'budu illa iyyahu mukhlisina lahu dinahu wa la kariha al-kafirun. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ashabi Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ansari Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala azwaji Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala zuriyati Sayyidina Muhammadi wa sallim taslima kaseera. كسر الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. We give thanks to Almighty Allah. We put today's program in the hands of Almighty Allah. As we are commencing, may Almighty Allah be with us. May Almighty Allah guide us from beginning to the end of the program. Those that are still coming, may Almighty Allah safeguard them to this venue. At the end of the program, may Almighty Allah safeguard all of us to our respective destination. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Let us have our seat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أستغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا القيوم وأتوب إليه أستغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله العلي القيوم وأتوب فريق أولياء الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا العلي القيوم وأتوب إليه أستغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو العلي القيوم وأتوب إليه
Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you again by saying Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the NASFAT Business Breakfast Summit 2.0, a platform deliberately designed to bring together faith, intellect, professionalism, and economic insight for the benefit of our women and our nation. This year's conversation is anchored on a powerful and thought-provoking metaphor: the levies, the levelers, and the believers, the Nigerian economy, and the global economy in scope. This phrase captures, in very simple terms, how progress is driven in society, organization, and nation, and it is particularly relevant to where Nigeria finds itself today as we step into the 2026 economic year. The levies. The levy represent the resource, financials, materials, and institutional required to sustain growth and development in faith-based organizations like NASFAT. Levies go beyond compulsory deduction. They speak to commitment, sacrifice, and shared responsibility. Over the last 30 years, NASFAT has grown because believers stepped forward to support causes bigger than themselves. Today, I wish to draw your attention to several strategic projects that call for cooperations, partnership, and investment. Our frontier universities, NASFAT International Center Mosque Project on Association Lagos Ibadan Expressway, our Whole People Support Center that the women is coming up with, Women and Youth Skill Acquisition and Development Center, a model international secondary school, Ramadan Feed and Mouth Project. Ramadan is about the corner. A proposed world-class hospital under the NASFAT Health Management Scheme for members and non-members alike. These are not just projects. They are vehicles for women capital development, social stability, and economic growth. Nigeria itself is rich in levies, abundant revenues, taxes, natural and human resources. The challenge is not availability but collection, management, and application for real impact. As Muslims and professionals, it is important we understand that what is at stake, especially in the areas such as tax reforms, and land economy, Islamic finance, which have become major subject of national discourse since 2025. I encourage participants to request platforms, exploit partnership, and be part of projects that deliver measurable impact. Delivers. Deliver represents skills, knowledge, leadership, and expertise, the tools that translate resources into outcome. As Archimedes once said, give me the lever and I will move the world. NASFAT has been blessed with knowledgeable, skilled, and talented professionals who have served as levers of progress over the past 3 decades. Nigeria too is abundantly endowed with it. I think our keynote speakers and the second speaker will speak to this. The critical question is, what must we do right in 2026? That is why we are here to learn from our keynote speakers and the second speakers. Leadership is both cause and effect. We need leaders who are honest with citizens about economic realities. Leaders who prioritize impact over theoretical, and systems that reward competency, transparency, and accountability. If Nigeria must reposition its economy for real growth, then leadership, public and private, must become a transformational lever, not a ceremonial one. The believers. The believers are the people, those whose faith, conviction, and collective action sustain the system. They are the ones who provide the levies and operate the levers. Nigeria is in a complex mix of believers. We have the political leaders, we have the public servant, we have the religious leader, we have the private sector's actor, community leaders, the masses, and even the unseen influence of the global system. Their actions and inaction must be guided by fairness, justice, and equity, principle clearly enriched in our constitution, but too often ignored in practice. In many critics of modern economy, a familiar pattern emerges. A few control the lever, while the many sustain the system through their levies. Is this not a fair analogy of the global economy, and more importantly of Nigerian economy? How do we position ourselves for 2026, becoming the levers, which the keynote speakers on taxes and the one on halal economy will speak to? Nigeria operates a pyramid-like structure where power and decision-making are concentrated at the top. To achieve big organization and national change, we must deliberately activate transformational levers such as measurement. Government must come out with measurement, inclusion and involvement, clear communication, education and continuous training, reinforcement and incentive, effective organization structures, accountability processes, and strategic resources. Imagine the impact if Nigeria made its largest investment ever in upskilling social care and health workers, building a modern and efficient health system that makes the needs of its people. That is how levers move nation, rather than have our own children traveling abroad to go and become social workers. Our professionals are leaving Nigeria to go and become social workers abroad. Why can't Nigerians take their platform? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I urge us to remain calm, focused, and attentive as we tap from the fountain of knowledge that will flow from our keynote speaker and second speaker today. Their insight will help us better understand the economy we live in and the role we must play within it. May Almighty Allah make the knowledge we gain today beneficial to us, impactful to our institution, and rewarding for the human.
Sharia compliant investment, are basic things that we all know we have to avoid: riba, gharar, that interest, uncertainty, and all that. And then there are industries we can play, right? Anything alcohol, gambling, conventional banks, it's also riba. We have to totally avoid it. So like I said, we have a living witness who fought, who is a combination of the two. Al-Jami'u Bayn al-Aqiqa wa Sharia. And that is the Imam that is sitting among us today. He understands the Sharia perfectly, he understands the economic side of it perfectly. But are we conscious to say that in this room, I thought I would be speaking to almost maybe 5% of the elders in NASFAT who have investment in conventional banks and who have investment at BOE, because that is what's supposed to be practical, and who have investment at British American Tobacco, even if there's an argument that smoking is makruh. Yeah. So I was in Saudi one day and an Arab was smoking, and I said, we were talking, I said, do you know the implication of what you are doing? And he said, so what's the essence of dying with a clean lung? Right? So that was his first approach to me. I mean, so, but the thing is that we all know it's something that affects health, right? But are we ready to move away from industries? We all know pork. Pork is not allowed to be consumed by Muslims, but it's a very good business animal to sell, right? So those are the areas, and that's what halal, refers to. Okay, but very quickly, instead of looking at anything that will give you interest or excessive, uncertainty, and then playing in areas that are forbidden. Of course, we have asset-backed risk and profit-sharing structures, that we can all adopt. The most popular one that everybody knows is a market certificate that we refer to as Sukuk, and we see it everywhere. Is growing globally, right? So we have Sukuk Islamic bonds that replace what we call a treasury bond or bankers acceptance or whatever, how they coin the name of the instrument, right? Because Sukuk are asset backed, right? You physically see what is being used for. We have Islamic real estate that you can venture into. I'm going to because of time. And again, today in the world, there's what we call ETFs. These are exchange traded funds. Both locally, we have some platforms. Internationally, we have platforms where you can even retail your investment. No matter how small, you can still plug in what you have to invest in exchange trade funds. Right. Today's halal investing also connects deeply with the ethical goal. Everybody is talking about environmental changes, right? We're talking about social security system. Because today what is missing is that really there is no security in the way we interact as human beings, as nations, as communities, right? But halal trading or halal investment encourages the fact that whatever business that you do, you must consider these three things. You have to consider your environment. You have to consider if it affects your muamalat. Islam is divided into two major categories, where you have the fiqh dini and then the fiqh muamalat. Yeah, the muamalat is very essential, and that is where the Prophet got, the best of creature in terms of attitude, being able to survive with non-Muslims, and all that. So environment is key when you are running your business, right? And then you have to be socially responsible, okay? And you have to consider government policies as well. Yeah. There's some key Sharia compliant investment vehicles that we can look at. Like I mentioned Sukuk, and I've mentioned as well as the exchange trade funds that we can play in, right? There's also a mutual fund, which an association or an organization like NASFAT can actually establish mutual funds to support members and to enhance trading among members of NASFAT. There's a particular platform in the world that I will mention to all of us. We might have known, but I think we need to flog it further, and that is the Morgan Stanley Capital International. They've done so well to adopt and accept Islamic way of investment, right? And today they have Sharia compliant variants of investment, and this is world class, right? So, and it's growing every day. In 2018, about $300 million when it was tiny. Today it's grown up to about $2.3 billion in 2023. And we can see a lot of demand coming from people that are searching for halal investment. Yeah. Today, many markets offer complete halal, and that is where you see a lot of regions growing in the world. If you move all the way from Malaysia, where it is almost 100% Islamic banking, South Africa is growing, Kenya is growing, Nigeria is growing, right? And everybody is just growing, so it's no more tiny. Yeah, the products that we use to blend Islamic principles and professional portfolio are also growing. So it's no more just a niche, really. It's about scaling, and it's scaling very fast around the world. The global Islamic finance asset, as we speak, it is even beyond $5 trillion. So, what is my own share of this $5 trillion halal trading globally? What's your share? And NASFAT as a group, what's your share, right? So over 4,500 Sharia compliant indexes now exist worldwide, right? Signaling broad institutional adoption of halal trading. This expansion underlines that Islamic finance principles, that's referring to being ethical, transparent, asset-backed, because this is different from what you find in conventional banking, right? Are resonating globally. You know, even beyond Muslim majority countries, you see a lot of Islamic financial institutions in the UK, in France, anywhere you go to, it's just growing everywhere. Because today, people believe that you have to be open, right? It's gone beyond, I need a working capital. The working capital that you need, will really need to drill down. What is the purpose? What exact materials are you buying? What is the input, right? Like we did some, for the first time we had a non-interest commercial paper. You know, regularly what you hear is a commercial paper, and it's a commercial paper. So last year, we did the first non-interest commercial paper. This is a bit different from Sukuk, right? And we raised about 20 billion for a single customer. We did that in the commodity space, in the food space, and also in the non-oil export space, where we supported some agricultural commodities with about 15 billion, separate from the 20 billion that we raised. So altogether, just within 2 months, we were able to raise about 35 billion naira, you know, on non-interest commercial paper. And the people that invested made about 16 to 18% profit sharing, yeah, of that non-interest commercial paper that we raised. Now, the geographical drivers, like I mentioned earlier, is showing that opportunities in halal trading is growing every day around the world. And then if you consider the risk and challenges that you have, despite the momentum, there are structural hurdles, of course. Liquidity constraints in terms of size market. In Nigeria participates in non-interest banking, but globally compared, if you compare it globally, it's just like whether less than a 1% or around 1% that we are contributing to the global growth of halal trading. So we still remain very tiny, and as tiny as we are, we do not have a separate market, right? That is CBN and all that, and we are being guided even by the NPR and everything. So we don't have a separate pricing board as we speak. So as Muslims, we have to come together, dump all the non-Sharia, non-halal businesses that we do, so that we can join the world, you know, in growing the Islamic economic exponentially. Yeah, regulatory differences across countries, sometimes complicated product standardization. Everybody, even what you call the derivation, for example. Yes, we are allowed to structure, but anyhow that you structure, you cannot throw away the box. And what is the box? The box is the Sharia. Don't forget. Yeah, we have Sharia to play. We are standing on the foundation. Yeah, so no matter what you do as Muslims, you have to carry that your box along, even if you're allowed to think outside the box, but not without the box. So derivative today, derivative product everywhere, it's kind of bringing a little bit of differences among scholars today, right? But we are happy to have our OFI around, yeah, and we also have the FSB. These are regulators that standardize practice and accounting principles of halal trading around the world. So I have some practical steps for investors looking at building their wealth in the halal way, right? Number one, you must define your objectives, okay? And everybody's objective is actually to grow wealth. You want to grow your wealth, yeah? And then you need to improve on your income, plan for your retirement, and then what ethical impact is your business, you know, reflecting, and even up beyond your own self running the business. What do you see your business doing in another 100 years when you have left that business behind? These are the objectives that you need to define as Muslims. And then the second thing is for you to choose suitable instruments. Like I mentioned, that we have Sukuk, we have the ETFs, we have the likes, when you come down to the commercial banks, they will talk to you about how to structure your, what's it called, your working capital as a Moraba, right? And then if you want a production line for your company, whether you have an existing one or you just want to start, they will talk to you about Ijara, where they lease asset to you, but it's going to be on a lease to own basis. I think today in Nigeria, we do not have an instrument to operate an operational lease, right? But you have operational lease in places like Saudi Arabia, where you have a bank like Bank Roger, for example. Bank Roger has everything. They have their own car shops, they have their own farms, they have their own real estate. So if you go to them, they need not to, now direct you to another vendor, right? So if you need any equipment, they have the equipment that they're selling and they're also leasing. So they can do operating lease and they can do a lease to own. But today in the Nigerian economy, what is popular and available is a lease to own. We do not have banks that have capacity, to buy equipment and keep and wait for farmers to come and say, we need some, agricultural equipment, to run our farm, and then return it back to you. They don't have the capacity to own those equipment, but they can pay the lease on it. These are areas we need to look into, and then let's see if a NASFAT can have a yard of agricultural equipment, and you are waiting for us to do operating lease in conjunction, with profile farmers, right? Again, you have to verify. You see, when they say Sharia compliance, it's not enough for you to rely on the certificate issued by a particular, even if they are certified. When you have Sharia scholars that have made their justification and recommendation on certain investment, as Muslims, we are allowed to also, further ask questions about that investment that you want to go into. It's very important, because Islam is not a religion of dogmatism. So you must ask why, where, when, how do you derive your profit and everything. So verify Sharia compliance, check governance and certification standards. Okay, and then you blend global exposure. That include emerging markets for growth potential. We have to continue to monitor together the regulation and product evolution. Market is evolving very fast. Sorry, permit me to say locally, even in our own bank, Alternative Bank, we have what we call a platform, we call it Alt Invest. The Alt Invest is available where for investors, both retail and commercial, corporate, where you can invest in gold, in real estate, in agriculture, depending on the existing portfolio that we have on ground, right? But because you have it on your palms, you can invest on your own in your bedroom, and you can also exit as you like. You don't need to, write an instruction to the bank for you to invest or come out of it. And that's why it's very important. Before you invest and take that decision, have you consulted our chief imam? Because like my brother was saying, women of Al-Jannah, do we know the way, right? So we have scholars among us that we can always confirm to say, Sheikh, I can see a good investment from Alternative Bank. Sir, do they have this gold physically really? Or is just by proxy? Is it trading by, is it real gold? Or they are doing a kind of structuring just to entice me? Do you get what I mean? And really we have gold, and our gold depository is in Abuja. We have real gold. So our transactions are backed with real gold, right? So, okay. Then we can move to National Halal Economic Initiative that has been launched late last year, for us to know that as Muslims, except if we do not want to enjoy the work of our Imam Onike and the likes, who fought for Islamic banking, we have options today, unlike before, right? And the government is also talking about alternative finance, alternative to, I'm not talking about alternative bank, alternative to conventional, ways of doing things, right? And today, in October 2025, For the first time, we have Nigeria formally launched its National Halal Economy Initiative with President Tinubu and Vice President Shatima signaling official government commitment to develop halal sectors. The halal sector, this is beyond financing. We are talking about, can I get halal potato? Can I get halal chicken? It's not only chicken that should be halal, right? Because the way you plant, the way you harvest, the way you transport and everything, and your intention are all encompassed under halal. So it's beyond financing. We are looking at our food, looking at pharmaceutical, where people will consume drugs. You know, you're because you are buying from, let me not mention, a very standard pharmaceutical shop, and then you believe that you are buying the original. But because of the country where we live in, adulteration, fake drugs, and you're buying the wrong thing, as you take it in, it's giving a different result from what you expect. You get what I mean? So we need to get halal pharmaceuticals and trade all together. By mid-2025 as well, Nigeria Islamic finance sector was estimated to be about $4 billion in assets. So we are growing. Sukuk is about 55 to 60% range, to be precise. Every other financing model from the commercial banks, looking at Muraba, Mudaraba, Musharaka, like I mentioned. SEC reported the non-interest capital market hitting 1.6 trillion, reflecting Sukuk listing and broader Sharia compliant products as well. Right. The Financial Reporting Council, this is very good for us because if we are not collaborating or we are not handshaking with the regulators of Islamic accounting and auditing organization globally, it means that we will not be able to actually derive our real profit or real loss. So I'm happy seeing Nigeria, considering to internalize and adopt AOFI standard. AOFI is Auditing and Accounting Organization of Islamic Financial Institutions in the world, right? So that accounting standard is being recognized now, and that will give us what we call transparency and open accountability. So for example, what we do in-house in Alternative Bank is to separate your charges from your regular statement of accounts. So we have a billing account where you open your corporate account with us, right? Or you open your personal business account. We have a billing account separately that we're going to generate for you, where you see all the charges coming from the bank. So on a monthly basis, you get an account. So it's easy for you to prove and then to track, whatever the bank is charging you, right? I've mentioned that Sukuk has become a game changer, yeah, and then we can see for the first time as well, international Sukuk was approved. That was in October as well. We saw Nigerian Parliament approve a first of its kind international Sukuk issuance of $500 million. That's the first currency, the first foreign currency Sukuk as part of broader 2.8 billion financing plan to refinance our debt and diversity funding source. Yeah. So these are opportunities that are there for us locally and internationally.